We don't have control over that air blower, do we?
No,
We're
alas.
fine. We don't have like
It's
the big
usually,
mic.
yeah,
Right.
it usually doesn't pick it up, which is really nice.
Right.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Shakespearean Shrew. I am your Shakespearean Shrew, Karen Feiner, professor at the University of Oklahoma and lover of all things bard. Professor at the University of Oklahoma for now. This podcast is going to be a decorum-be-damned entrance into understanding Shakespeare's stages, for there are many, and all the players on it. I am at OSP at the Mermaid Tavern, and I am with Alissa Branch, who we've talked to before and are so excited to have back, and her lovely husband, Tim Grimm, who might have the best name ever, just rolls off the tongue.
It does rhyme, doesn't it?
It does. And so you both are acting in OSP's The Lion in Winter, which has an amazing cast, and you are our king and queen. So that is very exciting, but that's only part of who you are and what you both do. So Alissa, professor, director, actor.
Yes.
That's not all. That's only the start of the list, but those are kind of our big three. Tim, you are also, in addition to an actor, a very well-known songwriter and musician. And so we've got, an artist, of course, because, so I feel like I'm just gonna bask in your glory for a moment. One, because your claims to fame, Clear and Present Danger and Backdraft, so cool. I feel famous just sitting next to you.
It'll go right to his head.
But in addition to that, also #1 folklore song on the charts.
Yeah, the American and actually European folk music charts. Folk music, last year had the #1 song for the year, and might make it again this year. It's
Same song.
same song.
Yeah.
Might be leading the pack. It's written at the right time in the right place in history for us.
Yes.
Sadly.
Yeah. Fair enough. Valid point. It's Broken Truth.
Broken Truth.
Right?
Yeah.
Is the song?
Yeah.
We'll put a link to it, so those of you who would like to listen to it, it is amazing. I might have listened to it 4 times today, just, doing my research.
There you go.
Right.
There you go.
All in the name of research. But so with these, your amazing art, which I really want to get a piece to take with me to Germany.
We can talk. Great, we can make it happen.
And then your artworks, in addition to being an actor and dog lover extraordinaire.
Oh, yeah.
How does all of that impact each other? How does your artwork as a musician impact your time on the stage? How does your, impact your stage work, impact the art that you create?
Great questions. I've not been on the stage in 8 or 9 years, so this is this is the longest hiatus I've ever had.
So we feel even more special right now.
Well, hopefully at the end of the day, or at the end of next month, you will feel that way. But no, it's been a long time, and I just kind of got pulled away into writing more and more music. As an actor, we are serving someone else's, journey, someone else's work, someone else's words, and as a songwriter, I'm serving my own. I'm kind of picking out what I need to write about.
Yeah.
So it's a different kind of creative energy, for sure, and it's a lot less collaborative doing the music, at least the creation of the music. Production of the music is another ballgame, but to sit and write something, it's a lonely task. It's not a lonely task being in the theater with a full cast,
Right.
and trying to learn someone else's lines, in a structured kind of way.
Yeah, I agree. I also have not led a play on stage as an actor since before the pandemic. And that feels like a lifetime ago to me as well. And I've been teaching and acting and increasingly painting. Um, the teaching and the directing certainly speak to each other and speak to the acting in a really direct way. I really do think that teaching something to somebody else lets me know what I know and reinforces the things that I hope I will do as an actor and director. I think my time directing plays has certainly made me more spatially aware of all the bodies on a stage, more aware of our stage pictures. I hope it's broadened my vocabulary for talking to directors, actors, and certainly designers when you're a director. So they all seem to be in synthesis with each other to me in a pretty direct way. I also believe that if I'm teaching acting, I should get up now and then and walk the walk if I'm going to go in and talk the talk, right? I think I shouldn't go too long telling other people how to do a thing.
Yes.
Without practicing it myself and making sure that my own work is current and relevant and that I'm practicing what I preach.
Yeah.
The visual art for me is the solitary part. He finds it in songwriting for the most part, and I find it in painting. The painting that I've been doing also, interestingly, is kind of word-based. Being the word nerd that I am, I love Shakespeare and stories and storytelling, which is also what I love about Tim's music. He's really a storyteller who crafts characters and writes a lot about social observation, and he does it in such a really deeply poetic way that is really moving to me. So I take bits and pieces of Shakespeare stories, bits and pieces of Tim Grimm song lyrics and set lists and whatever other poetry is moving me and embed my paintings with a lot of these words. So it feels like I take all the public work and then mix it up in my hands and sort of make it into something else that's more private and that is a respite for me sometimes in today's world from all the public work.
Yeah, I was going to say that about both of your works, the intimacy of the pieces, whether it's your paintings and the work and looking at these figures that hold so many secrets, it feels like, or your work that just comes across as kind of a part of your soul.
Yeah, we get comments like that sometimes, and those are the richest, deepest comments. It means someone is listening on a different level, you know. And part of what fuels both me as a writer and as a performer, as an actor, is the level of experience that one is willing to dig into, you know. And the other thing I've been doing since 17, 18 years now is I go to Europe every year. So I am traveling a lot. We've been traveling a lot these last 4 years or so, every year. And I started a tour company in Scotland. So leading small group tours for between 14 and 20 people for 10 days. We've had lots of wonderful people from Oklahoma travel with us, and people from India, people from all over the world. I have German friends who will come to Scotland, you know, and go on tour with us, and trying to combine music with history, with culture, and it's that kind of exposure to the rest of the world and the people in it, and the music in it, and the art in it. All of that stuff is so essential and informative to the craft of acting, to the craft of writing songs, to the craft of creating visual artwork.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
And you all, because like you said, Alissa, you go with him a lot on these tours and traveling the world. I was watching from afar via social media this summer.
I really love it. I love being on tour with him, both when he's performing as a musician and when we're able to take friends and his music fans and whoever else wants to go with us along to experience some of these places. Certainly I find the scenery and the exposure to different kinds of people living in different ways in the world and expressing different points of view very inspiring for visual art, but also for ideas and stories that we can tuck away and use in a variety of ways.
So you are like the ultimate team. And like I said, you are our king and queen of the Lion in Winter.
In the Lion in Winter.
The Lion in Winter, yes.
In this one, it's a very interesting team because you're not exactly on the same page.
Right.
There's,
Right.
so there's a lot of disagreements and maybe some violence.
You know, families are complicated.
It's very complicated. How does your relationship help you inform your dynamics on the stage?
Well, we have what I will call, I'll use a simple word. We have a safe relationship. You know what I mean? In that it's based on complete level of trust on every level. You know, the physical level, the emotional level. So that's our starting point. If we can have that starting point, walk onto a rehearsal stage where we're yelling and screaming at each other, and threatening to throw things at each other, and talk about killing each other, we know we're okay. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a gift, really, to work with a partner you completely trust and respect. I think that's the other thing is we're pretty inventive with each other in the room because we know that we have a baseline trust and respect for each other's process. And it's fun. It's fun to go in and throw a tantrum and make a mess and explore the extremes of human behavior in a contained environment like a theatrical space, which I think is part of the reason a lot of us are actors, is we're curious about all the extremes of the human experience, all the extremes of the way people treat each other, all the emotional extremes, which certainly we are exploring in this play. And then we get to shake it off and go home and have a cocktail and run lines together. And work on other
Ironically,
things.
because it's safe, we can do anything.
Right.
Yeah,
You know,
agreed.
there's no if
You don't need the intimacy
if
designer
we were,
because
we need no intimacy coordinator, and that's something if we weren't coupled in the play, we were with someone we didn't know very well. There are interesting challenges, you know, that when you push things.
But it almost allows you to push the envelope more because
Yes.
you already have that
Yeah.
foundation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It absolutely does.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I'm also at times rising to the challenge. He's playing the king who has a lot of bluster and has really strong points of view about everything. His character comes in and takes the space. I am Eleanor of Aquitaine. She's allegedly a very powerful woman, but she's also been locked away in prison for a decade at the time of the play. The play finds her at the low point of her life. And so I find it interesting to play those power dynamics and push at him a bit and figure out where she is in relation to him, you know, in relation to the king at any given time. So we're having a pretty good time figuring out where those boundaries are in service of the story,
Right.
but also because it's really fun.
Well, because it's a 12th century story,
Right.
written in the 20th century,
Right.
produced in the 21st century.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it contains elements of all of those things you just mentioned. I mean, and I think that you know, juxtaposing all of those elements is wonderfully fantastic. You
It
know,
is,
we're
and
not-
it's very funny.
we're not-
It's a bitingly, bitterly
Yeah.
funny play, which is great fun to explore.
things catch up with you.
Yeah.
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 Um,
We also find ourselves in a play about raising boys, young men, which we have each done. So because we've both been parents of boys and we're in a play now where we have boys vying for the throne and arguing and bickering and, you know, parent-child relationships are complicated, sibling relationships are complicated. And so it's an interesting puzzle to think, okay, the play takes place in 1183, was written, as you said, mid-20th century, being performed in the 21st century, but certain things we still recognize. You reference in the play a king called Lear, right, whose children are also, at that time,
Yeah.
fighting for
and then
for
later
recognition
on
as
in the
well.
play, I have a couple of very Lear-like
Yes.
monologues.
Yes.
You know.
So those are fun dots
Yes.
to connect.
Yeah. And I'm always aware too that ties back to the travel thing that we talked about. I mean, we've been now in so many Scottish and English and Welsh castles and landscapes by the water. So one's imagination, those both, begin that imagination, but they also fuel it then when we're up here. We've seen these things. We've kind of walked in similar places, so it's not all having to come from our imagination.
Yeah. That is something that, you might take for granted otherwise, that you have the ability to reach into your memories and your experiences to take from.
Yeah, it's really a mix of what we've experienced as humans and what our imaginations can fuel, right? I always think that's the alchemy, the magic dust.
And I mean, you are a powerhouse of a woman.
I assume you mean Eleanor of Aquitaine.
No.
I get to play a powerhouse of a woman, that's for sure.
But I mean, we've talked before with you as a director about your, the empowerment that you put into your plays of women, especially in Shakespeare's plays, where sometimes women are, I don't want to say, are less powerful or less present.
Right.
And you give them more of that presence.
Yes, when I'm producing a play, you and I have talked before about how if we're going to produce the dead white dude who's wrote 450 years ago, I absolutely want to think, okay, why, right? Why am I producing Shakespeare? As much as I love him, I mean, I've dedicated my life pretty much to working on Shakespeare anytime anyone will let me, but I'm still a woman in the 21st century thinking to myself, okay, every time I put Shakespeare on the stage, I should know what I hope the audience is gaining from it, how it's relevant to us today, how I can stretch and bend and be more inclusive in terms of the way we're talking about love or power. And I certainly am drawn to plays where I'm drawn to plays that contain powerful women because they're so much fun to explore.
Yeah. And so you're playing that powerful woman also in this play.
Yeah.
But also, like you said, the dynamics, you're the king. You are the power of this family, the head of the household.
Right.
So with that, how do you push it? Do you push that?
Yeah, I think Eleanor fights for all she's worth. Because I'm not directing the play this time around, right, and I'm acting in the play, I have to trust our director, Seth Gordon, and I do, and he's lovely to work with, that he's got his eye on the big picture and steering the arc of the play. All I can do is play what Eleanor wants and needs in that moment, and she's fighting for her life. She's fighting perhaps to be free. She's fighting to get her favorite son on the throne instead of Henry's favorite son on the throne. She's fighting to be seen and recognized for her powerful contributions to France and England. She happens to be at a low point, but I think that means she fights all the harder for what she wants.
She can't go any
lower. And in fact, after the play, we know she does go on historically to be very important to the reign of Richard the Lionheart, who does eventually take the throne, and then eventually also John, who is Henry's favorite, who eventually takes the throne. So I did a fair amount of looking at the trajectory of her life, as well as looking at the way the play was written and thinking, okay, she was a great power. She's at a low point, personally and professionally, and he is taking another lover, right? And their relationship is very rocky right now. But I know in the back of my mind, she goes on to a better place. So I have to try to center myself where she is in the play right now, just playing what's in front of me.
Right.
Yeah.
Stay in it and not play to the future.
Right, not play the end from the beginning.
Man, that's an interesting thing to think about and to fight with.
It's a workout.
Especially with historical figures.
Right. Right, and the degree to which we think about who they are, in the play, which takes some liberties in terms of timeline and relationships and what we know may have happened, right, as opposed to what we know did happen.
Right.
Ultimately, the script is our guide, but the background knowledge doesn't hurt.
Yeah, I like the research. I mean, academia.
Yeah.
It's a nerd thing.
We're nerd.
So this cast is amazing. This is one of they put up the cast sheet and I was like, well, okay. Like this
You're very lucky.
I'm so excited. I get to interview the brothers.
Great.
I'm doing an interview with the brothers. So there'll be some sibling fun. But Justin Marlowe, I've interviewed him twice now, I think. And then Joshua Murray, I've had the opportunity to talk to him. when he did an amazing Hamlet. And so, what is it like working with different generations on this show?
Yeah.
It's probably different for me than it is for you because you're working with people of that generation almost on a daily basis at work.
Right, right. Well, and these particular boys, all the young men in the play are OU students or OU alums
Right.
who I have known in the classroom and have worked with in different capacities. That's not true for you.
No.
You're just getting to know them.
So, how's it for you?
Oh, it's wonderful. Yeah. There's a vitality, there's an energy, you know, there's a hunger that they've got. And I'm game to be in that room with them.
Yeah, I'm like I said, I saw that cast list go up, and I was like, well, can't wait for that one. That's going to be.
And our one younger actor, Anjali, who's playing Alice in the play, is from OCU, and she's just folded right in. So I think all of the young actors are enjoying each other a lot. We're enjoying watching them.
That's what I do love about OSP is there's some merging and overlap from different other, from other theaters, from other departments at other universities. How important is it for them to make those connections, both with other, actors and getting to learn from you all, but also making connections with actors from different universities and different learning styles?
I'd love for you to ask them this question as well, because I'd be really interested on their perspective about what it is to go from being in the classroom with each other, and with me for that matter, to going to acting together on stage, right? I'm always aware of that dynamic when we're in the rehearsal room. But for me, it's great to see them grow. I think for them, it asks them to step up, and when they come to work in a professional theater with professional expectations, no matter how much we try to hold them to those standards at the university level, I think it feels different to them when they walk into this beautiful space, see the dressing room, see the two different stages, and see how the process works slightly differently. They were just talking to us a little bit about this last night, actually.
Yeah, and doing it with a pro or two versus a complete, college or university cast.
Right.
I mean, it's been a while, but I distinctly remember going to grad school and doing shows with the guest artist, with the equity artist that would come in. And just deep inside, you've got to raise your game to that.
Right.
And I was always treated very well. So therefore, that was my lesson, to treat everybody else, all the younger people now, just as well. We walk in the room and we're all in the same boat,
Yeah, we're just a little further down the road.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think about that a lot too, because I really think of acting as an oral tradition. You can read books about acting, but the actual learning happens on its feet. And we can do a certain amount of that in the classroom, but then you just have to go out on the boards, and watch each other and watch the people who came before you and hand the tradition on. I think we tradition was handed on to us. We're now handing it down to the next generation, which is really important for its survival.
So you both said this has been a pretty long break, longer for you than for you, Alissa. But it's been an extensive acting break for both of you. What are some of the biggest, maybe either challenges or surprises as you get back onto the stage?
Great question.
And pause for as long as you need, because editing is my friend.
Right. Perfect.
I don't think that the dynamics of the process really feel any differently than they ever have. We use the analogy of the bicycle, getting back on the bike, and there's certainly that, you do remember how to balance and go down the road. There's some details that are variable. We talk about this rehearsal schedule. And it's an understandable rehearsal schedule because we're working with students. We're working in a company that has certain time constraints and certain kinds of contracts, et cetera. So for me, it's a really compressed process. I'm used to a regional theater or a Chicago or some kind of contract where I'm working, you know, an
All
8-hour day.
Right.
In rehearsal.
And I don't want to say that's luxurious, but it does allow one to really sink and get into that schedule. This feels a lot more, you know,
Yeah.
kind of compact.
Compressed, yeah.
Yeah.
Compressed, yep.
And because we are both on stage through most of the play and we just have mountains of words,
Yeah.
right? I think the first mountain we're climbing right now is memorizing the play,
Yeah.
right? And tying it to the movement and the characters' objectives and all the obvious things. It's a workout right now for us both. Yeah.
I've said to Alissa and probably some other people, I have no question, based on what I've done in my life, I can do this and I can do it very well.
You can act the thing.
I can act the thing very well, but I got to learn it. You know, can I learn it?
Yeah.
Right.
So what do you do to memorize this mountain of?
We're lucky because we're in the same house. So
Right.
we've got, Alyssa's on a full-time teaching schedule. I'm not. So I'm around the house, basically trying to find the right chair in the house that I can sit for 45 minutes and focus or feel comfortable in to try to learn this stuff. You know, she comes home and we read a scene. We try to read it a couple times. I find that I both want to do that and don't want to.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
What the fascinating thing for me, I guess, too, is the real difference between working this process now in a contemporary place and time and doing it 15 or 20 years ago when I was working theater all the time. We didn't have the distractions. We didn't have an iPhone, you know?
Yeah.
We didn't have something that came with us everywhere. So every break, 10 minutes, everybody's checking their phone.
And the 24-hour news cycle where
Yep.
there are headlines and blurbs coming at us all the
Free
time.
Facebook, all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
It's a distraction.
Yeah.
And I think it's hurt, speaking for myself, our attention spans.
Oh,
I mean, I feel that 100%. And so we've been talking a lot about making concerted efforts to sometimes leave our phones at home, at least leave them in the car, not pick them up out of habit when we don't need them. And that's useful, and I hope we'll get better at it, both of us, and that maybe we'll be able to then do that more readily when we're not in rehearsal for a play. I am also, conversely, I agree with everything Tim said, I'm also enjoying putting down the phone. I'm enjoying an hour at a time to sit and deeply focus on getting something in my brain and body. I think there's a muscle memory, you know, to how you memorize, to how you move through space, to the blocking. And I haven't worked that process in a while. And I am finding that it's really rewarding when I can focus on it and find the time for it. And it reminds me when I do it that that's what I'm asking students to do, and that when I'm directing, that's what I'm asking actors to do. So I think that synergy again of all those, wearing all the different artistic hats is really important.
Right. It's almost like a yoga thing, like the stretching muscles that you haven't stretched in a long time.
Yeah.
It kind of hurts, but at the same time,
Feels so good. It hurts so good. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Title of this episode.
That's not bad.
But so, is there a difference between the stages that you all tread on? Because you tread on, as a professor, you tread the boards in your classroom. Like that's kind of how I feel sometimes.
Yeah.
It's
performative.
Yes.
Right.
And then you hit the theater, you hit the stage.
Right.
But even as an artist, when you put your work up, you are putting yourself up on a stage where people are looking at some part of you in your art.
Yeah.
And then for you, you know, between being a musician, between being an actor on the theater stage and being an actor on a movie set, are the feelings different depending on the stage that you're on, or are they fairly similar?
And as a musician, I'm on different stage almost every night when I'm out on tour, and they're all stages. Stage is an interesting word, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
think what it means in it, to define it at its core. You know, is it a place to perform, a place to be seen? Is it, I mean, to me, a stage can be almost any space. That's the beauty of it. And as a musician, but I think this translates as an actor too. I'm often asked, you know, where would you most like to play? You know, do you want to play? Because in America and in parts of Europe, there are beautiful house concert series, you know, where I can be in someone's amazing home playing for 50 people. And I'm on a stage, even though it's the edge of a living room or something. That's just as valid or valued to me. Or they say, would you rather play a big outdoor festival? Not always. I don't always want to play the big out in the middle of July, you know, to play the big outdoor festival, and people, you know, hundreds or 1,000 people are kind of out there mostly listening. Not, you know, it's stages. And I think they all can be wonderful. I think that the idea of, to me, it's important to invest something of myself in or onto that stage. We, Alissa and I, for the last couple of years, have hosted the Red Dirt Folk Salon at the cottage. And the idea of set the stage. If you're the performer or if you're the presenter, set the stage somehow. Put a cool old lamp there, hang something there, you know, make it something there that's drawing people in, and makes it feel elevated and not the corner of any room, you know.
Yeah, I'm still thinking about the word stage and the question about the visual art, right? Being also
it's a noun and a verb too, right?
Yeah, we stage things,
yes,
and we walk a stage. You're right.
Yeah.
And I guess I think any artistic creation is an offering of ourselves. And when you write a song and perform it for people, it's a pretty direct offering. You created the words and the images, and you're the body performing it. When we perform in a play, we're the vessel for someone else's words and stories, right? We are in service to that offering.
Guided by a director,
yes,
but in company with the rest of the actors.
Right, and so that's the kind of offering. I actually think a painting is the same. It's me creating an image, creating color and texture, and telling a story in a totally different way, and then offering that story to whatever public might find use for it, which I think is what a song is about and what a play is about.
If we have a group of your paintings, we are going to stage them
right
on the wall.
Right, sometimes on a stage.
Often on a stage. We often bring now one of her large pieces and a cool old easel, and we'll figure out where on my stage with my side guitar player, Sergio, where that best should live. And that helps to set the stage for us, you know.
And your work's the cover of his latest CD, right?
Yes, yeah, his latest album is all my artwork, actually.
Yeah.
All my paintings, which was really fun. The collaboration element for us is really, really fun, and I'm very grateful for it. Some of my painting series, actually, I have this angel series, right? I had I don't even attend any organized religion. You know, I'm not a traditionally religious person, but he wrote a song about an angel of sorts, a woman with wings who seems to keep them folded in an attic in the opening track on his new album called Up in the Attic. And as soon as I heard the poetry of that and thought a little bit about the woman he was writing about, I found that these women with wings started falling out on my canvases. And they were clearly inspired by the poetry he was writing. It was me taking it then and imagining my version of that and then extrapolating in my own way about what it means to be a woman with wings. We were talking about powerful women, and I found that from this woman who kept her wings folded, I wanted to paint all of these women that had her wings out. And so we're in a lot of conversation with each other directly and indirectly, I think, artistically, and that's been a real treasure.
So how do you, because you talked a lot about offering for both of you, the stage is an offering of giving a piece of yourself. How do you keep giving so much of yourselves without burning out, without kind of losing some of yourself in the process?
It's a great question. I think there has to be an ebb and a flow to it. I certainly go through phases where I feel very creatively productive and the output is visible to other people and I can explain how I'm spending my time. And then I go through phases where it's the stasis period, the regrouping, the travel, the spending time with friends, the reading about other things, trying to gather again stories to tell. I think you go through a similar thing with songwriting, certainly.
Sure, but part of the doing a tour or doing even a couple shows a month, you're recharged by the audience.
Right.
You're recharged both by the literal night performance, as different. The distinction is often people ask me, what are the biggest differences between being a musician or a singer in your own music performing and performing in the theater. I can choose to engage or address anybody in that audience as a writer, and that's maybe a luxury. I don't always think it's a luxury, but sometimes it is. But in the theater, no, it's occasionally it's written for us to do that, or we make actorly choices to engage, maybe momentarily, in that idea of the fourth wall. But it's not like we're as an actor, I'm looking out here hoping to get something from you that's going to fuel my work.
Right.
But if I'm singing a song I've written, then it can. You know what I mean?
It's more direct conversation.
Yes, it's more direct conversation. Yep.
That is actually, I didn't see it until you explained it, but that is a surprising and really interesting answer. That's okay, don't worry about it. You're just being mauled by dogs. You can walk it, it's fine.
AJ's on.
So bringing us back to the Line of Winter, because I hope everybody comes to see it. Do you have favorite scenes from that show that really feed you with in terms of energy, or you just really kind of resonate with that particular scene?
I certainly have favorite lines so far. I have favorite moments, either because of the words I'm speaking or because of the thing that's developing between me and whichever actor I'm on stage with at the time that feels like we're hitting something true or difficult in the material. And I think those are the moments that are feeling great to me so far. Moments where I feel that we figured out what a line or a moment in a scene is really about. And then we're still in the messy middle of the process. At least I'll speak for myself. I'm in the messy middle of the process where there are a few scenes where I think, okay, I think I technically know the words, but I'm not sure I understand the heart, the guts yet of this particular part of the scene.
It's an interesting, because I think we can, at this level of the work of really trying to get it under our belt, we actually approach it from a slightly different way, which I think ultimately will complement it.
Yeah.
But Alyssa's always talking about getting behind the words and knowing the character intent and tracking things. And I am just my goal is to just get the words. And to me, the words can often give me a bulk of the intent. And that's just a different, subtly different way of working, or at least trying in this early phase to get it, as I said, under our belts. I like a couple of aspects of this. I like our scenes together are very, in some ways, contemporary.
Mm-hmm.
More so than Shakespearean scenes, that our scenes together.
Mm-hmm.
They're witty, they're sharp, they're full of love, they're full of and love is such a big thing with the two of them because a lot of it is loss, the
It's
loss.
combustible.
Yeah, it's
too.
combustible. And then as an actor, those more Shakespearean moments in this piece, for me, where I'm finding, oh, okay, I'm not, in Shakespearean verse form. I'm not whatever Alissa would tell me Shakespeare would be doing here. But I feel that the energy and the sense of some of those pieces that are Lyrian in quality, or like a young Bolingbroke, or something like that, where there's a sense of a character's power, mostly in the best of ways. Those are fun and
the script is really, really fantastic because it is epic in nature, right? It's love, sex, death, and the crown, which I always think are Shakespearean stakes, right? We're not arguing about what we're going to have for breakfast. We're arguing over the future of civilized, monarchy, and the future of marriages and lineage, big things. But you're right, it's written in such a witty, contemporary way. This is the biggest love of a dog I've ever met. Hello, we're besties always. And that is really fun to play.
Yeah.
It's fun to try to find those stakes and honor the size of the epic nature of it, and do it in a way that feels really truthful and modern.
And we also are coming from slightly different backgrounds, in the sense that Alissa has really delved deeply and into the world of Shakespeare.
Right.
I've probably done maybe 5 productions my whole life. I've done a lot of things that involve rich language, but I don't have the toolkit that we like you too that she has in that regard. So my lens on it is interesting, because I think, here we are doing a sort of contemporary play written in an almost Shakespearean manner, in the Oklahoma Shakespeare Festival space. And it makes me, I ask myself questions at times. Well, is this piece, a way in for some people? Is it a way in for this kind of storytelling, which Shakespeare, lives up here?
It's the Shakespeare gateway.
Yeah,
Is it a gateway?
it's Shakespeare adjacent. Yeah, that's a great point. I hadn't thought about it that way.
Yeah.
But it is more accessible in those ways for you, and maybe for other people.
Yeah. Because I've heard, at a distance, I'm not, again, involved in Shakespeare's world, contemporary, artists and scholars talking about him. But, I've heard from a distance, so some people would love to take the core of a Shakespeare story, but modernize the language, right? And then I've also heard many people, just put their hands up screaming, you can't do that, because it's the language that's so key. So I've always, wondered about that. The stories themselves are so fundamentally elemental, and the language is of his time, but it also does specific things. So it opens up in my own mind, thinking more about the art.
Yeah, I think it's a great point, because that's a lot of our conversations tend to end up there with a lot of my interviews that are Shakespeare plays.
Mm-hmm.
Is like, how do you get Shakespeare across to an audience that struggles with that language and feels like they can't connect to it because of the language?
Yeah, that's my favorite thing to do, is figure out how to bridge that gap. I love it so much. And it is in some ways a little easier in this play, although Seth has said to a couple of us a couple times, slow down, right? The audience won't follow you because the thoughts are so complex unless you slow down and paint it for them.
Got it,
so the play goes at a pretty good clip. It's once the train takes off, it is flying. And finding the moments to slow down and make sure that the more complicated language is digestible by the audience is a pretty good challenge.
I mean, this is like the holiday dinner gone wrong, right?
Worst family Christmas ever. Absolutely.
So, Lion in Winter opens on October 9th and closes the 19th. So you all have 2 weeks to come see this amazing show and to come support this amazing cast.
Thank you.
We already have our tickets, so we're ready to go.
Great.
The link for the tickets for OSP are going to be in underneath everything for the podcast. So, please come see it and let us know what you think. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Is there anything else you want to say about the show before we close?
It's going to be a good romp.
Yes, it is.
And these two, the chemistry is just so real because it is real. All right, everybody. Well, just remember, all the world's a stage, and you too can be a shrew. Bye.